These are the first pictures on the ground, 130 degrees. Different friends of mine, Ralph, me. Best machine gunner I ever met. It's a selfie.
Jason Auld has the faces and scenes of the Persian Gulf War burned into his memory. But he also has them captured on film in the kind of photos you won't see anywhere else.
Was I supposed to be shooting? Not really. Was it absolutely forbidden? Not really either.
Auld is a McPherson native and served as a paratrooper doing military intelligence for the Army's 82nd Airborne Division.
We were the very first Allied ground unit in theater.
Deployed to the Persian Gulf in 1990, Auld was loaded down with equipment.
Large rucksacks with antennas strapped on the back, camouflage netting, night vision goggles, radios, batteries. Typical load was well over 120 pounds, and not counting rifle and helmet. So then on top of that, I carried, it was actually these two exact cameras, plus 3 lenses, plus a camera bag, plus a light meter, plus, let's say, 7 to 20 rolls of film at any given time.
His official mission was to intercept enemy radio transmissions. But along the way, he was taking pictures of the war, its people and places, like nobody else could.
What I was doing was really rare. I haven't come across anybody else that has a body of work like I've got. It just wasn't happening. I don't know of any journalist that had the same kind of access to a unit that I had.
Auld says his photos tell a different story about the war than the public was told.
There were no embedded reporters. That did not exist. There were no Facebook. There was no social media. There was no YouTube. There were no cell phone cameras. None of that existed. If anything was shown, it was shown with an approved reporter, with a public affairs guy standing right next to him, taking them to events that they wanted them to see, having it staged, prepared, all this. They'd show it to him, then that package would go out. And that's what they did all through the war. They showed the war as being a series of smart bomb attacks and guys surrendering, which was not the case at all.
Auld recently published a book of his Desert Storm pictures.
Guy and his machine gun. That's one of my favorite photos because it's very unlike what people think of Desert Storm.
The book offers the rest of us a new look at that war a quarter century ago, and forces Auld to go back and face some of the demons that have plagued him ever since.
When we got back from Saudi, I didn't know it at the time, but I was experiencing PTSD. So I started drinking pretty much as soon as we got back. And that's how I dealt with it. This was a long time ago. PTSD didn't exist in the consciousness of the American military. It was either guys who could handle war or guys who could not handle war. And that's how it was. And you wanted to be in the pile of guys who could handle war.
After the war, Auld says he developed the photos, but at the same time was trying to forget about what he'd just been through.
Until like 3 years ago, they just sat in a box. I didn't do anything with them. As soon as I got home from the war, I started drinking, and I did not stop for 16 years.
But then Auld and the guys he went to war with started reconnecting.
My platoon guys that had experienced the same things I had, we kind of trickled on to Facebook. So we really started sharing and connecting and reconnecting, and, you know, as like some sort of synergy hit, I went back and grabbed the photographs out of the box and scanned them with a cheap flatbed scanner and put them up on Facebook and said, hey guys, you remember this? And they were like blown away because they hadn't seen these photographs ever. You know, I put up a couple of photographs that way, and somebody said, hey, this needs to be a book. And I'd had that idea in my head since I joined the Army.
This photo depicts the grim reality of war when a platoon member was killed.
This happened like, you know, very, very close to where I was at. So the whole tone of the war changed then, you know, from just us slamming the enemy to now our guys were dying. And that was a pivotal moment for me.
And there's this image that Ald says haunted him for a long time.
We came across a group of Iraqis surrendered on the ground. I watched them and I was like, they're dead. And I shot some photographs of these guys and I felt really, there was some sort of line in my head that I didn't even know that I'd stepped across. So when I shot those photographs, I was like, that's it, I'm done. I'm not shooting those photographs anymore.
Ald says he shifted his focus to capturing candid shots of his comrades that still have an impact 25 years later.
Like this photograph here. Donnie, guy climbs the mountains. He's doing well in his life. Married, lives in Europe. And I remember the day I posted that photograph to Facebook for the first time. Donnie messaged me back and he thanked me. And he said, for the first time in as long as he can remember, his kids think he's cool. And his wife kind of understands. And without those photographs, that doesn't happen.
Now he's taking pictures once again, shifting his focus to the realities of life after war.
This gentleman I met at the PTSD event over the weekend, he's got 3 Bronze Stars, a Silver Star, 3 Purple Hearts, and a Legion of Merit, and survived the Tet Offensive. I mean, it's an incredible portrait of survival. This is another shot from the Dole VA Center. Veteran waiting on a ride out. Amputee. The idea behind this one was, I noticed it when I was walking out of my apartment. It's the door of my apartment. And I saw how it was balanced. And this side is the inside of the apartment. This side's outside. And to me, it kind of represented the dilemma that a lot of people with PTSD face, which is stay in over here, and you have isolation, depression, but a degree of security. And on this side, you have going out, but there's a degree of risk and danger and the possibility of getting triggered on this side.
It's a look into the world of the American soldier through the lens of someone who lived it and continues to live it. This is a life of battles that don't end when the fighting does. And Jason Ald hopes his photos tell the story in ways that mere words never can.